Hello, Patriots. I know I am a little bit early, but I want to make sure that I can get the news updates to you guys before Joe Biden goes live with his press conference. Isn't everybody excited? Just did a live on my personal page. I was like, guys, you got to get hyped up for this. This is going to be a good time. I promise you that I will do my best to try and translate Biden's language to English. So tune in for that. I'm definitely going to do my very best to do that for you. Please take 2 seconds to share this video. Give us a heart, give us a like, give us a hashtag strength in numbers. Let's break that algorithm so we can get as many viewers as possible. How's everybody doing on this Thursday? Right? It is Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday. So we're one day away from Friday. And we get to hear from Joe Biden. I know. Everybody's so excited, right? So for those of you who don't know, our YouTube page has been taken down yet again. We are taken down for 2 weeks. If you are a fan of watching our stuff on YouTube, you can go to my personal page, Kayli Thompson, on YouTube, and you can watch it. We also usually stream live on YouTube from Cash Kelly's page. So that being said, let's dive into a couple of jokes here because I know that you guys love that. We're going to do jokes. We got some jokes, and then I'm going to tell you the news, and then we're going to listen to Joe Biden. Everybody give a clappy emoji because you're so excited. Well, that was nice. My computer just booted me out. I guess I was talking about Joe Biden too much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Let's get started with some jokes, guys. You ready? Here we go. What did the 0 say to the 8? What did the 0 say to the 8? Hey, this is a good one. You ready? Nice belt. Please tell me you get that. What did the 0 say to the 8? Nice belt. It's funny. Come on. Come on. Tell me you understand. Oh, I don't know where Hunter is. I really don't care where Hunter is. I do, but I don't. Anyways, why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom? Why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom? Because the P is silent. There's a P at the beginning of the word pterodactyl. For those of you who don't know, that's why that's funny. Yeah, you're welcome. I just helped you out there. Wow. Okay, what do you call a woman with one leg? What do you call a woman with one leg? Eileen. Oh. Wow. Yeah, Kelly. Hey, man, I'd do anything for you guys. You're my people, so it's all good. It's all good. I would even suffer through listening to Joe Biden talk. That's big, right? All right, so let's get into news so that we can make sure that when Joe Biden shows up at 1:15, we are here and ready to listen to what he has to say, right? I know, bad dad jokes. I know. It's terrible, but it's funny. All right, here we go. So Democratic Charlottesville, Virginia mayor tweeted a vulgar poem Wednesday comparing her city to a rapist. Quote, Charlottesville, the beautiful ugly it is. Now, mind you, this person has been the mayor since 2017. It rapes you, comforts you in its the C word with 3 letters. I'm not going to say it because it's disrespectful. Stained sheets and tells you to keep its secrets. That's the mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah, that's disgusting. Joe Biden is receiving intense criticism after tapping Vice President Kamala Harris to manage the border crisis, especially after her controversial past remarks about immigration and the message her appointment sends to those crossing the border illegally. Yes, tap in the A-team player to take care of the border crisis. That's not really a crisis, according to mainstream media. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn has joined with 3 other GOP senators to introduce the End Child Trafficking Now Act. Thank you. Somebody do something. I'm grateful. Finally. Somebody's doing something, you guys. That's good. That's huge. Okay, let's see. A total of, I'm going to put this on the screen. That way you guys can actually see it. A total of 16,513 unaccompanied illegal alien minors were in custody of either Customs and Border Protection or the Department of Health and Human Services as of March 23rd, according to the HHS Administration for Children and Families. But there's not a border crisis. No. Divert your attention. There's only 16,513 unaccompanied illegal alien minors. No big deal, y'all. Right? Police in Atlanta, Georgia on Wednesday arrested a man who carried 6 guns and body armor into a grocery store in Atlantic Station. So, I don't know if mainstream media is covering this, but I'm going to show you a picture of this guy. I have a feeling mainstream media is not going to say much, and I'll just leave it at that. But yes, this man walked into a grocery store in Atlanta, Georgia yesterday, and a couple people saw him, saw that he had the body armor on. Apparently, he was just openly carrying all these guns, I guess, and went to the bathroom. They called the police, and the police apprehended the man before anything bad happened. So that's good. So, a Black Lives Matter activist in Boise, Idaho, has been arrested in connection to a vandalized statue of former President Abraham Lincoln. Terry Joe Wilson, 37, was arrested late Tuesday night after a warrant was issued for his arrest last week. Now, I don't want to describe how this man vandalized the statue, so instead, I made a picture for you so that you can figure it out on your own. This is how he vandalized the Abraham Lincoln statue. Just nice people, you guys. It's Black Lives Matter. They're good, solid people. That's what he did to vandalize the Abraham Lincoln statue. So, another scandal involving Joe Biden's son, Hunter, broke on Thursday morning when a news report outlined allegations that the Secret Service intervened in a firearm-related incident a few years ago. But, here's Joe. Ban guns, everybody. Ban guns. That will solve all of America's problems. Ban guns. CNN shrugs off a report that Chris Cuomo received special treatment from his governor brother Andrew Cuomo and New York State health officials during the pandemic. So basically, CNN said, we really try to stay out of, the people that work for us, their personal business and their health stuff. But we understand that Andrew Cuomo would give him special treatment because it's his brother. So no big deal. All right, let's talk about Zoom. Zoom. Okay, so everybody knows what Zoom is, right? The meeting app, Zoom. They profited $660 million in the year of 2020. The California-based company didn't pay a single dollar in U.S. taxes. With a simple application of the federal corporate tax rate of 21%, it would put the company's IRS bill at $138.6 million. $138.6 million they would have to pay in taxes, but they didn't pay any taxes. It's fine. Probably because they're based out of California. They get special rules or something. So this is amazing. Listen to this, you guys. The Heritage Foundation, one of the oldest and most respected conservative think tanks in Washington, D.C., rejected 6-figure donations from big tech companies like Google and Facebook. They are taking a principled stand against big tech censorship and conservatives. Take a stinking bow, Heritage Foundation. That is huge. These are the kinds of things that need to happen so that we can stand up against this stuff. I love that. That's a great piece of news for you guys today. You're welcome. A 40-year-old woman charged with a hate crime after calling a McDonald's manager a stupid Mexican and physically attacking him while calling other employees dumb Mexicans who don't know how to speak English, said the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. This is our woman who was charged with a hate crime. Apparently, they messed up her Happy Meal order and she wasn't happy. Because if you don't get the Happy Meal order right, how do you expect people to be happy? Okay, right? What somebody just said, unmute something. Can you all hear me? I hope you can hear me. I hope so. Everybody, please take 2 seconds to share this video. We are going to be tuning in to Joe Biden's live news broadcast, news, whatever you want to call it, press conference. That's what it is. There we go. I'm going to pull that up on the screen. That way, when it begins, we can make sure that we don't miss it at all. Right? Gave you guys the rundown of the news today. Not a bunch of huge stuff, but that Heritage Foundation news is very good news. I love to hear that. I was very shocked to see that, honestly. So that's a good step in the right direction. What's up, everybody? What's a happy meal? Hey, if you guys have questions or anything, we've got about 5 minutes before Joe Biden is set to premiere. If you guys want to shoot me some questions, I'm scrolling back through the comments here just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Thank you, Autumn. That was a very nice compliment you gave us on our news today. I am trying to do this graphics thing because I know people like pictures, man. I mean, come on. Who picks a chapter book over a picture book? Nobody. So trying to incorporate some graphics in there so you guys can, see what I'm talking about. So, Jared, there is no logical reasoning that I can give you. Number one, because I don't agree with this decision to ban guns. I think it's stupid. I think that the outcome of what happened in Colorado would have been much less deaths if there was somebody there that had a gun, like myself, somebody with a gun that they open carry or conceal and carry that could have taken this guy down. So it's not going to help because number one, bad guys are going to get guns regardless of whether you ban them or not. They're not going to take our guns. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. So let's just, it would take a lot for it to get there. Did I see where they're living? Who are we talking about? I'm so sorry. It's been a little old. A little minute. 2A needs to stay. There we go. Cool. I'm writing it down. Thanks for the suggestion. I am on it. If I can find a piece of paper, that may be a difficult task for me. A happy meal is what they give Joe if he reads all his prompts correctly. There you go. See, we are so proud of you, Joe. Man, we are just so proud of you that you did everything right today. Although I feel like that means he never gets a happy meal because I'm pretty sure he's got to mess up a little bit. Any human being does, but to his extent is, wow. All right, let's see what everybody else is saying here. Let's see. Why does he keep us locked down and spend our tax money to bring illegals in and give them more freedom than Americans? That's a great question. We're generally not a platform of opinions, but I would say that all evidence leads to, number one, he's not equipped to be a leader. I mean, that just is what it is. The bottom line is the man is sick. He's not equipped to be a leader. Number two, there's a lot of long-term benefits and short-term benefits for what he is doing for himself personally. There are none for America. As a matter of fact, it's a very bad and dangerous thing that they are doing right now, and telling people that the border is closed when it's actually open. That's a problem because they're letting people in by the thousands. Just like I said earlier, 16,513 unaccompanied illegal alien minors. And with that comes other people. So for him, I believe that it is politically motivated. And like I read in Victor's book that we talked about last night, we've got to put our compassion for everybody aside a little bit. And it's not to say that the United States is not, we like immigration. We are for immigration. We just have a process that people need to do it in. We don't want people just walking across our border. That's an issue. That's why there's processes in place for people to do it legally. But at this point, letting this many people in is going to most certainly guarantee the turn of, voting for a Democratic candidate in 2024. As many people as he can get in, that's more blue votes for their administration. So I believe that is his thinking, if he is actually able to think, I feel like that has to be the only thing that makes sense as to why they would do that. But I absolutely don't agree with what they're doing right now. It's a disgrace. Let's see. Here's the thing. If they gave him a list of the questions that'll be asked, he's going to be well prepared. If they do an actual formal press conference that he just has to straight answer the questions, I think it could get very ugly because I've seen videos of him just freaking out on an average person asking a question, saying, "Come on, man," and cussing him out and saying he's going to take him outside. And, so we'll see. Wow. Hunter Biden gun. Yeah, I talked a little bit about that on my news. Oakland, California is offering $500 a month to low-income people of color. Wow. They won't ask him any hard questions. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I don't know. I can't make any predictions. He's the most unpredictable human being I've ever had this privilege of watching. I wonder why the press conference was scheduled in the afternoon. Do you have to wonder? I said this on my live on my page earlier. I was like, it's convenient that they scheduled it in the middle of the day. All of us conservatives are out here, working hard to support our families. But his following, however, the people who completely depend on the government, they'll all be tuning in. So maybe that's why. I don't know. Like, maybe the people that voted for him, he wants to make sure that they, they're able to watch it. I have no idea. Yeah, guys, don't drop, if you want to drop angry emojis, drop them in the comments. If we do that too much, Facebook will take us down. They don't need any more reasons to take us down. They already don't like us, so try to keep those to a minimum. Let's see. This might be his nap time. He might be a little tired. I have to pump him full of some coffee. Make sure he's ready to go. Hey, did y'all hear his dogs are back at the White House? Anybody hear that? His dogs came back. I feel bad for him though. I think they did what they did to try to get away from the guy, and here they are. Gotta come back. That's a bum deal. Yeah. There you go. That could be it. Maybe his mind is a bit sharper after his first nap of the day. Could be. But at least there's no more mean tweets, and at least he's not on the golf course. So, all is well in the world. It's fine. It's fine. Wow. I miss Trump and his continual flow of open and positive information and keeping promises for the USA. You and millions of others. But that's why we started this page, so that we could at least keep you guys informed truthfully. That's our goal. So I miss President Trump too a lot. A lot of people would shy away from him because of the way that he spoke, but I loved that about him because I knew what he was saying was real, and I didn't really care how he said it. He could cuss every other word, in my opinion. I knew what he was telling me was real, so I was fine with it. All countries have an immigration process as proper protocol. It's been my observation that people who don't respect or abide by law are the ones that are for this illegal immigration. Lawbreakers love other lawbreakers. Absolutely. And it's funny, people are misinformed and think that the most deportations happened during the Trump administration, which is in fact untrue. The most deportations of immigrants happened during the Obama administration. Biden, Obama, it's the same thing. So yeah, let's get our facts straight on that. But yeah, we're pro-immigration. Just don't do it wrong, you guys. There's rules. That's it. What's in the boat? Yeah, I don't know. I saw the boat. I don't know what's in it. I really don't. I haven't really researched much on that, but I have no idea. Suni said something about doing a meet and greet. Are you and Blake going to be in that? Yes. I mean, yeah, absolutely. If we if we can get a time where we can get Suni back here, yeah, I will do everything I can to make sure that I'm there for sure. Yep, I will definitely be there. I don't know if I can speak for Blake, but I would assume that if he's able, he'll be there as well. No question. Number one priority needs to be making sure all elections are constitutional, legal, and verifiable. Otherwise, they will keep stealing them, and it won't matter who or what we vote for. I agree with that. The problem now is that, so voter identification has to be a number one priority, period. It has to be a number one priority because people who immigrate here illegally are not going to have the kind of identification that they need to vote. And that's why that right there is an easy step that we could take. I don't know about this. I'm not sure where the location would be. Blake and I are both in Ohio, but I would love it for it to be in like Florida, you know, where things are open and it's nice weather, and I'd be willing to travel anywhere. So it's not something we've talked in depth about, but as soon as I have more information on that, I'll get it to you guys for sure. Let's see. Yep, he's late. Well, they might be waking him up right now. You know, give him a solid, 10-minute barrier here, just a little buffer. Make sure that he. Oh, please stand by. It says we're standing by. He ain't doing nothing, but we're standing by. Hey, as soon as this comes on, make sure you guys tell me that you can hear. Give me a thumbs up or something, so I know you guys can hear this. I shared it to where you could hear it, but sometimes it doesn't work. Let's see. Wanting to see how this one's going to go. Bet he doesn't answer questions, and if he does, they have been scripted. I'm kind of excited to see what happens here. Just changing his diaper. Oh, we're mean. Lord forgive us. Lord forgive us. Let's see. They're giving him his medication. It could be. Days of Our Lives is still airing. I just felt choked on my water when you said they're trying to wake him up. See, all right, listen, y'all, don't be drinking. Oh yeah, no, you be spitting out your drink. This is gonna be a good time. Anyone know what other reporters are banned? OAN. I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like anytime we show anything with Donald Trump, they take us off of YouTube. I'm assuming since this is Joe, they won't take us off of here, but who knows? Wow, you drive your truck through Dayton, Ohio 5 times this week. That's awesome. I'm close to Dayton. He just fell down the stairs. He'll be right with us. Oh man. Practice questions review. Yeah, we'll definitely make a meet and greet happen, you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Be a meet and greet we can do. I am a photographer, so I'll bring my camera, get some pictures with you guys. We can do some fun stuff, bring some merch, do some giveaways. Have some dinner. It'll be fun. We'll definitely do that. No doubt. Fireball shots. Hold up. I gotta find this comment. That was great. Where'd it go? Sound is on. I'm doing 5 fireball shots every time he says, "Look, man." Woo! You're gonna have a hard time standing up after this. Let's see. Come on, Joe. You're 5 minutes late. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe his handler is late. Make sure you're sitting. Block party. Heck yes. It's going to be a good time. I look forward to that. Yeah, I'll get together with Blake and Suni, and we'll figure out what we want to do there. You know, the thing, the thing, you know it. My dad was from Scranton. He got fired and lost his job in Scranton. And the thing. Mm-hmm. Trying to find him on TV, but no luck. He must have fell again. Yeah, the dogs are back. They are. They brought him back to the White House. Isn't that unfortunate? I feel bad for him. I'd rather go to the pound. There's only 8 people in the room. Tequila shots. Yeah, I think Florida is that's a good place to meet. Everything's open. It's beautiful. So, yeah. Oh, I know he's after our guns. Yeah. It's a bad idea. It's a bad choice for him to be after our guns. It's not going to work out well for him. Hold up. He said you could be president now. Cool. Bring it on. I'd handle it better than he has. I'll tell you that right now. There would be border policies in place yesterday. You guys are too funny. I love this. Maybe the air conditioner blew him over. Everything is open here in West Virginia, but no one ever comes here. Oh, maybe we'll do West Virginia. I've never been to West Virginia. You sold your guns to the illegals? With only 8 people that he has the questions. Yeah. I mean, there's no way. I don't know. I don't see them. I mean, the only way that they would just blatantly throw them to the sharks is if they're ready to transition power over to Kamala. And then at that point, they're going to, do everything they can to make sure that everybody knows he can't handle it. So we'll see. That's funny. I told my mother they're going to interrupt her soap. She said they better not. Oh, man. How long do you think it'll last? I say under 30 minutes. Probably not long. I don't know that he can keep his attention long. Come on, man. No, I've got it pulled up. Nothing's happening so far. What? Am I just losing it? No, see? We'll begin shortly. I don't know. What's happening? Pastor I follow was reading about toilet paper and coffee shortage potentially coming. Oh, for Pete's sake. Isn't that funny that like a pandemic happens and it's not like a stomach issue. It's like a blow your nose issue and we run out of toilet paper. What? I can understand Kleenex, but toilet paper? Really? Let's see. Fox News isn't showing it yet either. Okay, good. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing it. Wonder if Kamal will be holding his hand. Well, we'll see. He fell. Did he really fall? Mark, I don't want to see him run. That would be frightening. No. He chickened out. Yeah, pandemic. He's late. It's 1:25. Still no Joe. Mainstream media won't be covering that, though. They're not going to say anything about the fact that he's late. No, it'll be fine. Press conference. Maybe he's probably having problems memorizing his lines. I can't believe we're waiting for this guy. I know. But, here's the funny thing. So there's like 715 of you on here, but only one of us is waiting to watch him because it's just me. I'm streaming it to you, so it's all good. It's not like he's got tons of people waiting. So it makes me feel better. He's on. Where? I don't understand. Why is this not... Where do I need to go? Where's he on at? Okay. Thank you. 30 reporters. We don't have to add... Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Don't tell me he's on. I'm having a panic attack. Like, it should be on here. because this is when you go to the White House website, this is what it directs you to. So it should be on here when he comes on. He's on CBS. What? Let me look. Stay with me, y'all. I'll find it one way or the other. Let's see. If they really don't show it for us, I'm going to be like, you have to be kidding me right now. He is not on Fox. Yep, CBS. He's on. What? Hold, please. He's on right now. Just got on ABC. ABC reporter is talking. What? Lord. Hang on, guys. Get to this.
On where we stand 65 days into office here, on vaccinations and a few other top priorities for the American people. First, on vaccinations. On December 8th, I indicated that I hope to get 100 million shots in people's arms in my first 100 days. We met that goal last week by day 58, 42 days ahead of schedule. Now today I'm setting a second goal, and that is we will, by my 100th day in office, have administered 200 million shots in people's arms. That's right, 200 million shots in 100 days. I know it's ambitious, twice our original goal, but no other country in the world has even come close, not even close to what we are doing. I believe we can do it. And today, we made a historic investment in reaching the hardest hit and the most vulnerable communities, the highest risk communities, as a consequence of the virus, by investing an additional $10 billion in being able to reach them. I also set a goal before I took office of getting a majority of schools in K through 8 fully open in the first 100 days. Now, thanks to the enormous amount of work done by our administration, educators, parents, local, state education officials, and leaders, recent Department of Education survey shows that nearly half of the K through 8 schools are open now full-time, 5 days a week for in-person learning. Not yet a majority, but we're really close, and I believe in the 35 days left to go, we'll meet that goal as well. As of yesterday, more than 100 million payments.
Someone get him a water.
$1,400 have gone into people's bank accounts. That's real money in people's pockets, bringing relief instantly almost. And millions more will be getting their money very soon. One final note. Since we passed the American Rescue Plan, we're starting to see new signs of hope in our economy. Since it was passed, a majority of economic forecasters have significantly increased their projections on the economic growth that's going to take place this year. They're now projecting it will exceed 6% growth in GDP. And just this morning, we learned that the number of people filing for weekly unemployment insurance fell by nearly 100,000 persons. It's the first time in a year the number has fallen below the pre-pandemic high. So there are still too many Americans out of work, too many families hurting, and I still have a lot of work to do.
Joe, I dare you to talk without
But
reading
I
a
can
script.
say to you, the American people, help is here and hope is on the way. Now, I'll be happy to take your questions.
Bring it.
Zeke, the Associated Press.
Come on, Zeke. Bring the big guns.
Thank you,
By that, I
President.
mean questions.
You mentioned your progress on COVID-19. I'd like to ask you about some of the other issues facing your presidency. One of the defining challenges you face in the coming months is how to deliver on your promise to Americans on issues like immigration reform, gun control, voting rights, climate change. All of those right now are facing stiff, united opposition from Republicans on Capitol Hill. How far are you willing to go to achieve those promises that you made to the American people?
Well, I'm good. Look, when I
Look.
took office, I decided that it was a fairly basic, simple proposition, and that is I got elected to solve problems. And the most urgent problem facing the American people, I stated from the outset, was COVID-19 and the economic dislocation for millions and millions of Americans. And so that's why I put all my focus in the beginning. There are a lot of problems, but all my focus on dealing with those particular problems. And the other problems we're talking about, from immigration to guns and the other things you mentioned, are long-term problems. They've been around a long time. And what we're going to be able to do, God willing, is now begin one at a time to focus on those as well. And whether it's immigration or guns or a number of other problems that face the country. But the fundamental problem is getting people some peace of mind so they can go to bed at night and not stare at the ceiling, wondering whether they lost their health insurance, whether they're going to lose a family member, whether they're going to be in a position where they're going to lose their home because they can't pay their mortgage.
You're taking that away from us by letting people in this country.
Of the inability to pay their rent. So we're going to move on these one at a time, try to do as many simultaneously as we can. But that's the reason why I focused as I have. And here's the deal. I think my Republican colleagues are going to have to determine whether or not we want to work together, or they'll decide that the way in which they want to proceed is to just decide to divide the country, continue the politics of division.
We want to follow the
But I'm
Constitution.
not going to do that. I'm just going to move forward and take these things as they come.
Follow up, Mr. President. Can your presidency be a success if you can't make progress on those?
Look at him. He's dropping that double mask, y'all.
Gun control, voting rights.
Well, I plan on making progress on all of them, but that's going to be for the American people to decide. I think, I doubt whether, maybe you did, maybe others did. I thought, many of you thought there was no possibility of my getting the plan I got passed without any Republican votes.
What plan?
Pretty big deal.
To mess up
Got
our country?
passed. Growing the economy.
Good for
People's
you.
lives are changing.
BS.
So let's see what happens. All I know, I've been hired to solve problems, not create division.
You're not solving problems. You're letting people through our border
How
illegally
about Yamiche?
and telling us to take care of them with our money.
Thanks so much, Mr. President. You've said over and over again that immigrants shouldn't come to this country right now. This isn't the time to come. That message is not being received. Instead, the perception of you that got you elected as a moral, decent man is the reason why a lot of immigrants are coming to this country and entrusting you with unaccompanied minors. How do you resolve that tension? And how are you choosing
Look at
which
his
families
smirk.
can stay and which can go, given the fact that even though with Title 42, there are some families that are staying? And is there a timeline for when we won't be seeing these overcrowded facilities run by CPB when it comes to unaccompanied minors?
Well, look, I guess I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening.
Joe.
That I'm a decent man. Or
You ran on that.
That's why they're coming, because
You ran on it.
Guy.
No, that's not
Truth
it.
of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration. It happens every single solitary year. There is a significant increase in the number of people coming to the border in the winter months of January, February, March. It happens every year.
Not with Trump,
In
it
addition
didn't.
to that, there is and by the way, does anybody suggest that there was a 31% increase under Trump because he was a nice guy and he was doing good things at the border? That's not the reason they're coming.
Joe,
The reason they're coming is that
because
it's
you
the
ran
time
on the
they can
promise.
travel with the least likelihood of dying on the way because of the heat in the desert.
You're out of your
Number
mind.
one. Number two, they're coming because of the circumstances in country.
No,
In country.
no, they're not.
The way to deal with this problem, and I started to deal with it back when I was United States Senator.
Who
Vice President,
removed
for
the
putting
Remain
together
in Mexico
a
order?
bipartisan plan of over $700 million to do with the root causes of why people are leaving. What did Trump do? He eliminated that funding. He didn't use it. He didn't do it. And in addition to that, what he did, he dismantled all the elements that exist to deal with what had been a problem and has been continued to be a problem for a long time. He, in fact, shut down the number of beds available. He did not fund HHS to get the children out of those Border Patrol facilities where they should not be and not supposed to be more than a few days, a little
You
while.
lie. How long have
But he
those children that
dismantled
you
all
have
that.
there been
So
there?
what we're doing now is attempting to rebuild the system that can accommodate what is happening today. And I'd like to think it's because I'm a nice guy, but it's not. It's because of what's happened every year. Let me say one other thing on this. If you take a look at the number of people who are coming, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of people coming to the border and crossing are being sent back, Thousands, tens of thousands of people who are over 18 years of age and single people, one at a time coming, have been sent back, sent home.
That's a
We're
blatant,
sending back the
bold-faced
vast
lie.
majority of the families that are coming. We're trying to work out
No,
now
they're
with
not.
Mexico their willingness to take more of those families back. But that's what's happening. They're not getting across the border. And those who are coming across the border who are unaccompanied children, we're moving rapidly to try to put in place what was dismantled, as I said. For example, of all the children who are coming across the border, over 70% are either 16 or 17 years old. We're not talking about people ripping babies from mother's arms or little 3-year-olds standing on the border. Less than, I think it's 1.5% fall in the category of the very young. So what we're doing is we're providing for the space, again, to be able to get these kids out of the Border Patrol facilities, which no one should be in any longer than 72 hours.
You invited them,
Today,
Joe.
I went to, for example, I used all the resources available to me, went to the Defense Department, and the Secretary of Defense has just made available Fort Bliss, 5,000 beds. Be immediately available.
Maybe you shouldn't have
5,000
invited
beds in
them to the
Texas
border, Joe.
So we're building back up the capacity that should have been maintained and built upon that Trump dismantled. It's going to take time. And the other thing we're doing, I might add, am I giving you too long an answer? Because if you don't want the detail.
We don't want
No, but
anything from you, really.
I don't know how much detail you want about immigration. Maybe I'll stop there and finish.
My follow-up question is, one, if you could talk a little bit about which families, why they're being allowed to stay, what the families that are being allowed to stay, why they're being allowed to stay. In addition to that, when it comes to the filibuster, which is what Zeke was asking about.
That wasn't on my list.
Immigration is a big issue, of course, when it related to the filibuster, but there's also Republicans who are passing bill after bill, trying to restrict voting rights. Chuck Schumer is calling it an existential threat to democracy.
Guys, where's my list that
Why
has this
not
question on it?
back a filibuster rule that at least gets around issues, including voting rights or immigration? Jim Clyburn, someone, of course, who you know very well, has backed the idea of a filibuster rule when it comes to civil rights and voting rights.
Well, look,
Look.
I'm going to deal with all of those problems. The question is
Oh, okay.
the priorities as they come and land on my plate. Let's go to the first question you asked, the first of the second questions you asked. And that is, what about dealing with families? Why are not some not going back? Because Mexico is refusing to take them back. They're saying they won't take them back. Not
Then
all of
why
them.
didn't you
We're
leave the Remain in
negotiations
Mexico
with
order
the president
active?
of Mexico. I think we're going to see that change. They should all be going back. All be going back. The only people we're not going to let sitting there on the other side of the Rio Grande by themselves with no help are children. And what we're doing there, and it's an important point to understand. I know you understand it. I don't mean to say it that way. Important point to focus on. The vast majority of people under the age of 18 come to the United States come with a telephone number on a wristband, or come with a telephone number in their pocket in the United States. A mother, a father, a close relative, a grandmama or grandpa.
Give me a
What's
break,
happening
Joe.
before is it's taking literally weeks and weeks and maybe even months before anybody pick up the phone and call to see if there really was someone there. Well, we've set up a system now where within 24 hours, there's a phone call made
Oh,
as
wow.
that child crosses the border.
Everybody clap for Joe.
And then a verification system being put in place as of today to determine quickly whether or not that is a trafficker being called or that is actually a mom, a dad, and or a close relative. They're establishing that right off the bat. If it in fact is mom or dad, dad says, to take the extreme case, I got a birth certificate. Then guess what? We're getting that kid directly to that parent immediately. And so that's going to reduce significantly. There's two ways to reduce child populations in circumstances that are not acceptable, like being held at a Border Patrol station. One is to get them to the place where they have a relative and set a date as to when the hearing can be held. The second way to do it is put them in a health and human services facility that we're occupying now, both licensed beds around the country that exist, as well as, for example, federal resources like Fort Bliss, to get them safely in a place where they can be taken care of while their fate is determined. Filibuster. Filibuster.
Oh, the filibuster.
With regard to the filibuster, I believe we should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago. And that is that it used to be required for the filibuster, and I had a card on this. I was going to give you the statistics, but you probably know them.
You have a card. Good for you, Joe.
It used to be that from between 1917 and 1971, the filibuster existed. There were a total of 58 motions to break a filibuster that whole time. Last year alone, there were 5 times that many. So it's being abused in a gigantic way. And for example, it used to be you had to stand there and talk and talk and talk and talk until you collapsed. And guess what? People got tired of talking and tired of collapsing. Filibusters broke down and we were able to break the filibuster, get a quorum and vote. So I strongly support moving in that direction, in addition to having an open mind about dealing with certain things that are just elemental to the functioning of our democracy, like the right to vote, like the basic right to vote. We've amended the filibuster in the past. But here's the deal. As you observed, I'm a fairly practical guy. I want to get things done. I want to get them done consistent with what we promised the American people. And in order to do that, in a 50-50 Senate, we've got to get to the place where I get 50 votes so that the Vice President of the United States can break the tie, or I get 51 votes without her. And so I'm going to say something outrageous.
Do it.
I have never been particularly poor at calculating how to get things done in the United States Senate.
Really?
So the best way to get something done, if you hold near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
What?
we're going to get a lot done. And if we have to, if there's complete lockdown and chaos as a consequence of the filibuster, then we'll have to go beyond what I'm talking about.
Well, anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. Sorry. Oh.
Well, anyway.
Ms. Kim.
You are
Thank you, Mr.
creepy.
President. To follow up on the filibuster, so do you believe it should take 60 votes to end a filibuster on legislation or 51?
If we could end it with 51, we would have no problem. You're going to have to, the existing rule, it's going to be hard to get a parliamentary ruling that allows 50 votes to end the filibuster, the existence of a filibuster. It's not my expertise in what the parliamentary rules and how to get there are, but our preoccupation with the filibuster is totally legitimate. But in the meantime, we got a lot we can do while we're talking about what we're going to do about the filibuster.
What?
Let me get here. Okay. Cecilia Vega.
You didn't even answer the question, bro.
I'd like to circle back to immigration, please.
Circle back.
You just listed the reasons that people are coming, talking about in-country problems, saying that it happens every year. You blamed the last administration. Sir, I just got back last night from a reporting trip to the border where I met 9-year-old Josel, who walked here from Honduras by himself, along with another little boy. He had that phone number on him, and we were able to call his family. His mother says that she sent her son to this country because she believes that you are not deporting unaccompanied minors like her son.
Thank you.
That's why she sent him alone from
Thank you.
Honduras.
Thank you.
So, sir, you blame the last administration, but is your messaging in saying that these children are and will be allowed to stay in this country and work their way through this process, encouraging families like Josel's to come?
Well, look.
Come on, Joe. What you got?
The idea that I'm going to say, which I would never do,
But you
an
did.
unaccompanied child ends up at the border, we're just going to let them starve to death and stay on the other side.
That's not what. That's not what
previous
she said.
administration did that either, except
That's-
Trump.
That's not what she
I'm
said,
not going to
Joe.
do it. I'm not going to do it. That's why I've asked the Vice President of the United States yesterday to be the lead person on dealing with focusing on the fundamental reasons why people leave Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador in the first place. It's because of earthquakes, floods. It's because of lack of food. It's because of gang violence. It's because of a whole range of things that when I was vice president had the same obligation to deal with unaccompanied children. I was able to get it slowed up significantly by working with the heads of state of those communities to do things like in one of the major cities, the reason people were leaving is they couldn't walk the street because their kids were getting beat up or shot. Or
That's
gang
not
violence.
true.
Well, what I was able to do is not give money to the head of state because so many are corrupt, but I was able to say, okay, you need lighting in the streets to change things. I'll put the lighting in.
Joe,
We got a contractor.
You're a
We got
liar.
the type of lighting. We paid directly to the contractor, did not go through the government. And violent crime significantly was reduced in that city. Fewer people sought to leave. When this hurricane occurred, the 2 hurricanes,
I can't even
instead
go
of us
fast
going
enough.
down and helping in a major way so that people would not have a reason to want to leave in the first place because they didn't have housing or water or sustenance, we did nothing.
Joe,
We're going to do a lot.
we don't need to do a lot. We need to do a lot for our people. America first.
$700+ million a year to change the life and circumstances of why people leave in the first place.
No.
That mother did not sit around with on the kitchen table and say, you know, I got a great idea. Why I'm going to make sure my son get taken care of is I'm going to put him, how old was he or she?
He's 9. I also met a 10-year-old.
A 9-year-old. I'm going to send him on a 1,000-mile journey across the desert and up
She
to the
said it
United
was
States
because of you. She said
because
it.
I know Joe Biden's a nice guy.
That's what she
and
said.
he'll take
Yes.
care of him.
That's what she said.
What a desperate act to have to take.
Oh, for
The
God's
circumstances
sake, Joe.
must be horrible.
Oh,
So we can do something about that. That's what the vice president's going to be doing. What I did when President Obama asked me to come and deal. I was in Turkey at the time. He said, "You got to come home and take care of this." So we put together a plan, and it had an impact. And so the question here is how we go ahead and do this, what we do. There's no easy answer.
yes,
Quick
there
follow-up, if I
is.
may. Do you want to see these unaccompanied minors staying in this country, or should they be deported eventually?
Well, the judgment has to be made whether or not, in this young man's case, he has a mom at home. There's an overwhelming reason why he'd be put in a plane and flown back to his mom.
What?
Follow, sir. You mentioned circumstances that must be horrific. The Customs and Border Protection Facility in Donna, Texas, I was there, is at 1,556% capacity right now with mostly unaccompanied minors. There are kids that are sleeping on floors. They are packed into these pods. I've spoken to lawyers who say that some of these children have not seen the sun in days. What's your reaction? What is your reaction to these images that have come out from that particular facility? Is what's happening inside acceptable to you? And when is this going to be fixed?
That's a serious question, right? Is it acceptable to me? Come on. That's why we're going to be moving 1,000 of those kids out quickly. That's why
Quickly? Where?
Fort Bliss opened up. That's why I've
When?
been working from the moment this started to happen to try to find additional access for children to be able to safely, not just children, but particularly children, to be able to safely be housed while we follow through on the rest of what's happening. That is totally unacceptable.
It didn't happen under the Trump administration, Joe. But you're blaming them.
Ken.
But it didn't happen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about Afghanistan. You face a May 1st deadline for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from that country. As a candidate in foreign affairs, you wrote that it is past time to end these forever wars. Can you commit to the American people that by May 2nd, the U.S. will no longer have forces in Afghanistan?
The answer is that it's going to be hard to meet the May 1 deadline. Just in terms of tactical reasons, it's hard to get those troops out. So what we've been doing, what I've been doing, and what Secretary Blinken has been doing we've been meeting with our allies, those other nations that have NATO allies who have troops in Afghanistan as well. And if we leave, we're going to do so in a safe and orderly way. We're in consultation, I say, with our allies and partners and how to proceed. And Secretary Blinken is meeting in Brussels this week with our NATO allies.
Can you answer any questions without reading from a script?
Forces there. And General Austin is just met with Kayani, and I'm waiting for the briefing on that. He is the leader, quote, in Afghanistan and Kabul. And there's a UN-led process that's beginning shortly on how to mechanically get people, how to end this war.
Yeah.
But it is not my intention to stay there for a long time. But the question is, how and in what circumstances do we meet that agreement that was made by President Trump to leave under a deal that looks like it's not being able to be worked out to begin with? How's that done? But we are not staying a long time.
You just said,
Wow.
do you think it's possible that
We will leave. The question is when we leave.
do you believe, though, it's possible we could have troops there next year?
I can't picture that being the case.
I can't answer that. It's not on my list of answers. I'm so sorry.
Okay, Kristen.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Given the conditions that were just laid out at the migrant facilities at the U.S. border, will you commit to allowing journalists to have access to the facilities that are overcrowded moving forward?
I will commit when my plan very shortly is underway to let you have access to not just them, but to other facilities as well.
What?
Be able to have access to the facilities. We've obviously been allowed to be inside one, but we haven't seen the facilities in which children are packed together to really give the American people a chance to see that. Will you commit to transparency on this issue?
I will commit to transparency.
Not until I'm ready.
And as soon as I am in a position to be able to implement what we're doing right now. And one of the reasons I haven't gone down, I have all my chief folks have gone down, is I don't want to become the issue. I don't want to be.
You are the
bringing
issue, Joe.
All the Secret Service and everybody with me to get in the way.
You are the
So
issue.
this is being set up, and you'll have full access to everything once we get this thing moving.
Okay, and just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
It's not on my notes, to be clear.
Responsibility for everything that's happening at the border now. I hear you talking a lot about the past administration. You decided to roll back.
You're
some of
gross,
those
Joe.
Policies. Did you move too quickly
To roll back what, I'm sorry?
policies? Did you move too quickly to roll back some of the executive orders of your predecessor?
First of all the policies are underway. We're not helping at all. Did not slow up.
Are
the
you
amount of
kidding me?
immigration.
Whatever.
There's many people coming. And rolling back the policies of separating children from their mothers, I make no apology for that. Rolling back the policies of remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio Grande in a muddy circumstance with not enough to eat. I make no apologies for that.
Of course you
I make
don't.
no apologies for ending programs that did not exist before Trump became president, that have an incredibly negative impact on the law, international law, as well as on human dignity. And so I make no apologies for that.
To ask you about foreign policy, Mr. President. Overnight, we learned that North Korea tested 2 ballistic missiles. What, if any, actions will you take, and what is your red line on North Korea?
Let me say that, number one, UN Resolution 1718 was violated by those particular missiles that were tested, number one. We're consulting with our allies and partners, and there will be responses if they choose to escalate. We will respond accordingly. But I'm also prepared for some form of diplomacy, but it has to be conditioned upon the end result of denuclearization. So
Look me in the eyes, Joe.
Right now, consulting with our allies.
Look me in the
Just
eyes.
very quick
You only
follow-up.
got another hour now, okay?
Diplomacy, can you define what you mean? And former President Obama warned the incoming President Trump that North Korea was the top foreign policy issue that he was watching. Is that how you assess the crisis in North Korea?
Yes. Okay, hang on a second here. Kristen, Nancy, CBS?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to go back to voting rights. And as Yamiche mentioned, Republican legislatures across the country are working to pass bills that would restrict voting, particularly Democrats fear impacting minority voters and young voters, the very people who helped to get you elected in November. Are you worried that if you don't manage to pass voting rights legislation, that your party is going to lose seats and possibly lose control of the House and the Senate in 2022?
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing 3 things. One, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House, number one. Number two, educating the American public The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters, the folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
They already know
This
what.
is gigantic, what they're trying to do. And it cannot be sustained.
Having
I do
one day
everything
of
in my
voting.
power, along with my friends in the House and the Senate, to keep that from becoming the law.
Is there anything else you can do about it besides passing legislation?
The answer is yes, but I'm not going to lay out a strategy in front of the whole world and you now.
And then on a related note, have you decided whether you are going to run for reelection in 2024? You haven't set up a reelection campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss him.
Have you?
No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for reelection. That's my expectation.
Oh,
And
dear
then
Lord Jesus.
on one other note, on bipartisanship, your old friend, Mitch McConnell, says you have only spoken to each other once since you took office, and that you have moved far left since taking office. Do you see it the same way he does? Have you rejected bipartisanship?
No, I haven't at all. I've been meeting. When's the last time a president invited the opposite party down at least a half a dozen times to talk about issues, everything from how we work. We're working with a group of 20 members of the Senate right now and House on how we reestablish our ability to make computer chips, and how we get ahead of the game, how we can work together. We're working together on a bunch of things. But look, I know Mitch well. Mitch knows me well. I would expect Mitch to say exactly what he said. But this is a matter of making sure that I would like elected Republican support. But what I know I have now is I have electoral support from Republican voters. Republican voters agree with what I'm doing. And so
No,
unless Mitch
we
says the last
don't.
thing I did, this last piece of legislation is so far left, well, then you ought to take a look at his party. Must be over that edge as well, because they support what I did. Okay. Where am I here?
We don't
Let me
support
see.
you, Joe. We don't.
Caitlin?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but first, I'd like to follow up on a question from Yamiche, and that's on the filibuster.
That counts as a question, but go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it quick. It's a quick
You
question.
can.
Regarding the filibuster, at John Lewis's funeral, President Barack Obama said he believed the filibuster was a relic of the Jim Crow era. Do you agree?
Yes.
If not, why not abolish it if it's a relic of the Jim Crow era?
Oh, that's not on my question list.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
What?
Let's figure out how we can get this done and move in the direction of significantly changing the abuse of even the filibuster rule first. It's been abused from the time it came into being by an extreme way in the last 20 years. Let's deal with the abuse first.
It sounds like you're moving closer to eliminating the filibuster. Is that correct?
I answered your question.
You also just
Wow.
made some news by saying that you are going to run for reelection.
I said that is my expectation.
So is that a yes, that you are running for reelection?
Look, I don't know where you guys come from, man. I've never been able to travel. I'm a great respecter of fate. I've never been able to plan 3.5 years ahead for certain.
And
What?
if you do run, will Vice President Harris be on your ticket?
I would fully expect that to be the case. She's doing a great job. She's a great partner. She's a great partner.
And do you believe you'll be running against former President Trump?
Oh,
Come on, man.
I don't even think about, I have no idea. I have no idea whether it'll be a Republican Party. Do you?
He has no
I know
idea
you
where
don't
he
have to
wakes
answer
up
my
at.
question, but I mean, do you? I mean, look, this is the way I view things. I become a great respecter of fate in my life.
Oh,
I set
Lord.
a goal of this that's in front of me to get things done for the people I care most about, which are hardworking, decent American people who really having it stuck to them.
You don't care about us.
I want to change the paradigm.
You don't care
I
about
want
us,
to
Joe.
change the paradigm. We start to reward work, not just wealth. I want to change the paradigm. If you notice, didn't you find it kind of interesting that my Republican friends were worried about that the cost and the taxes that had to be had, if there is any tax to be had, as they talk about it, in dealing with the act that we just passed, which puts money in people's pockets, ordinary people? Do you hear them complain when they passed close to $2 trillion Trump tax cut, 83% going to the top 1%? Do you hear them talk about that at all? I love the fact that they found this whole idea of concern about the federal budget. It's kind of amazing.
Jesus, take the whole
When
car.
the federal budget is saving people's lives, they don't think it's such a good idea. When the federal budget is feathering the nest of the wealthiest Americans, 90 of the Fortune 500 companies making billions of dollars, not paying a cent in taxes, reducing taxes to the point that people who are making, if you're a husband and wife, school teacher, and a cop, you're paying at a higher rate than the average person making $1 billion a year is.
Joe, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Something's wrong.
You're wrong.
There's
You're wrong.
newfound concern. I'm concerned. Look, I meant what I said when I ran, and a lot of you still think I'm wrong, and I respect that.
You are.
So I'm running for 3 reasons: to restore the soul, dignity, honor, honesty, transparency to the American political system.
Then let us into the border
2,
facilities.
to rebuild the backbone of this country,
Yeah, right.
the middle class.
No, you don't care about us.
Hardworking people and people struggling to get in the middle class. They built America,
You're a liar.
and unions built them. The
Unions?
third reason I said I was running was to unite the country. And generically speaking, all of you said, no, you can't do that. Well, I've not been able to unite the Congress, but I've been uniting the country.
No, you haven't.
Based
You've
on
been
the polling
spreading
data.
racism. Racism.
We have to come together. We have to. So from my perspective, it's to me, it's about just, getting out there, putting one foot in front of the other and just trying to make things better for
You
people.
can't even do that. You fall up the stairs.
Working people. People get up every morning and just want to figure out how to put food on the table for their kids, to be able to have a little bit of breathing room,
Oh my gosh.
being
Joe.
able to make sure that they go to bed not staring to the ceiling like my dad did, wondering since he didn't have health insurance, what happens if mom gets sick or he got sick?
Oh, for God's
These are
sake.
basic things.
Oh, man.
Basic
They're
things.
basic things, guys.
And I'm of the view that the vast majority of people, including registered Republicans
You're-
by and large,
You're wrong.
share that same view, that same sense of what is, what's appropriate.
Oh
Justin
my gosh.
doesn't think, Bloomberg.
Wow.
Thanks, Mr. President. I wanted to ask about your relationship with China now that you've been in office for a couple months. There's obviously the meeting in Alaska that was a little theatrical, and there's the continued human rights abuses. So today, I'm wondering, are you more likely than you were when you came into office to maintain tariffs on China? Are you considering banning imports of forced labor products? And would you consider cutting off U.S. investment or Chinese access to international payment systems?
Well,
Look.
they're each specifically legitimate questions, but they only touch a smidgen of what the relationship with China really is about.
Keep your eyes up here,
I've
Joe.
known Xi Jinping for a long time.
I dare you.
Allegedly, by the time I left office as vice president, I had spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader had.
Well, that's something to be
Because
proud of.
President Obama and the Chinese President Hu decided we should get to know one another, since it was inappropriate for the President of the United States to spend time with the Vice President of another country. But it was obvious he was going to become the new leader of China. So I spent hours upon hours with him alone with an interpreter,
Gross.
my interpreter and his, going into great detail. He's very, very straightforward. Doesn't have a Democratic with a small d bone in his body, but he's a smart guy. He's one of the guys like Putin, who thinks that autocracy is the wave of the future. Democracy can't function in an ever complex world. So when I was elected and he called to congratulate me, I think to the surprise of the China experts who were his people on the call as well as mine listening, we had a 2-hour conversation for 2 hours. And we made several things clear to one another. I made it clear to him again, what I've told him in person on several occasions, that we're not looking for confrontation, although we know there will be steep competition. 2, that we'll have strong competition, but we'll insist that China play by the international rules. Fair competition, fair practices, fair trade. Thirdly, in order to compete effectively, I indicated that we're going to deal with China effectively. And we're going to need 3 things to do that.
You have to
Tell
read
them
to
our
remember
people.
this.
First, we're going to invest in American workers and American science. I said that all through the campaign. I say it again, and I'm setting up my administration to be able to do that, which is that, back in the 60s, we used to invest a little over 2% of our entire GDP in pure research and investment in science. Today, it's 0.7%. I'm going to change that. We're going to change that. The future lies in who can, in fact, own the future as it relates to technology, quantum computing, a whole range of things, including the medical fields.
What?
And so what I'm going to do is make sure we invest closer to 2%. One of the reasons why I've set up the PAB, the President's Board with Scientists and the like, again, is we're going to invest in medical research, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, the things, industries of the future, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotech, and we're going to make real investments.
Did you forget the question?
Us by a long shot, because their plan is to own that future.
What?
The second thing we're going to do is we're going to reestablish our alliances, and I've been very clear with them. It's not anti-Chinese, and we've talked about it. I want to make sure that, for example, later today, after this, as a matter of fact, shortly after this, which is fine, we're going close to an hour. I'm happy to go longer.
He wants to go to Golden Corral. Hurry up.
One of the things that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be speaking with 27 heads of state in Europe.
Oh, good for you,
Very
Joe.
shortly, I think within the next hour or so. I don't know the exact time. And earlier this month, and apparently it got the Chinese attention. That's not why I did it. I met with our allies and how we're going to hold China accountable in the region. Australia, India, Japan, and the United States, the so-called Quad. Because we have to have democracies working together. Before too long, I'm going to invite an alliance of democracies to come here to discuss the future. And so we're going to make it clear that in order to deal with these things, we are going to hold China accountable to follow the rules. To follow the rules.
What?
Whether it relates to the South China Sea or the North China Sea or the agreement made on Taiwan or a whole range of other things. And the third thing, and the thing that I admire about dealing with Xi is he understands, he makes no pretense about not understanding what I'm saying anymore than I do him. I pointed out to him, no leader can be sustained in his position or her position unless they represent the values of the country. And I said, Mr. President, as I've told you before, Americans value the notion of freedom. America values human rights. We don't always live up to our expectations, but it's a value system. We are founded on that principle. And as long as you and your country continues to so blatantly violate human rights, we are going to continue in an unrelenting way to call to the attention of the world and make it clear what's happening. And he understood that. I made it clear that no American president, at least one did, but no American president ever backed down from speaking out of what's happening in the Uyghurs,
No American
what's
president.
happening in Hong Kong,
At least one
what's
did, but
happening
none.
in country. That's who we are. The moment a president walks away from that, as the last one did, is the moment we begin to lose our legitimacy around the world. It's who we are. So I see stiff competition with China. China has an overall goal, and I don't criticize them for the goal, but they have an overall goal to become the leading country in the world, the wealthiest country in the world, and the most powerful country in the world. That's not going to happen on my watch, because the United States is going to continue to grow and expand.
Sorry, just to follow up on the meeting of democracies, is that where you expect in a multilateral way to make these decisions about sanctions or
No, that's not where I make the decision. That's where I make sure we're all on the same page. All on the same page. Look, I predict to you, your children or grandchildren are going to be doing their doctoral thesis on issue of who succeeded, autocracy or democracy, because that is what is at stake. Not just with China. Look around the world. We're in the midst of a fourth industrial revolution of enormous consequence. Will there be middle class? How will people adjust to these significant changes in science and technology, the environment? How will they do that? And our democracy is equipped, because all the people get to speak, to compete. It is clear, absolutely clear, and most of the scholars I dealt with at Penn agree with me around the country, that this is a battle between the utility of democracies in the 21st century and autocracies. If you notice, you don't have Russia talking about communism anymore. It's about an autocracy.
What?
Demand decisions made by a leader of a country. That's what's at stake here. We got to prove democracy works.
Mr. President, sorry, I know you haven't had a chance to address the tragedies in Georgia and Colorado. You had said to stay tuned for actions that you might take on gun control. Wondering if you've made a decision either about sending the manufacturer liability bill that you had promised on day one to Capitol Hill, or executive actions like going after ghost guns or giving money to cities and states to battle gun control.
All the above. It's a matter of timing. As you've all observed, successful presidents better than me have been successful in large part because they know how to time what they're doing, order it, decide on priorities, what needs to be done. The next major initiative is, and I'll be announcing it Friday in Pittsburgh in detail, is to rebuild the infrastructure, both physical and technological infrastructure of this country, so that we can compete and create significant numbers of really good paying jobs.
What does this have to do with guns?
Really good paying jobs. And some of you have been around long enough to know that used to be a great Republican goal and initiative. I still think the majority of the American people don't like the fact that we are now ranked, 85th in the world in infrastructure. I mean, look, the future rests on whether or not we have the best airports that can accommodate air travel.
What?
Ports that you can get in and out of quickly, so businesses decide. Some of you, if you were ever local reporters, and you found your governor or mayor trying to attract business to your community, what's the first thing the business asked? What's the closest access to an interstate highway?
Didn't you ask
How far
about?
am I from freight rail?
He asked about guns.
Is the water available? Is enough water available for me to conduct my business?
What?
All the things that relate to infrastructure. We have somewhere, I asked the staff to write it down for me, and they did, not for this, but for a longer discussion. We have somewhere in terms of infrastructure.
Why are we talking about
we
infrastructure,
rank
Joe?
13th globally in infrastructure.
Oh my God. What?
China is investing 3 times more in infrastructure than the United States is.
What?
Bridges, more than 1/3 of our bridges, 231,000 of them, need repairs. Some are physical safety risks or preservation work. 1 in 5 miles of our highways and major roads are in poor condition. That's 186,000 miles of highway. Aviation, 20% of all flights, 20% of all flights weren't on time, resulting in 1.5 million hours lost in production. 6 to 10 million homes in America still have lead pipes servicing their water lines.
Oh.
We have over 100,000 wellheads that are not capped, leaking methane.
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know. We
by
were
the
talking
way,
about guns. I don't know about you.
We can put as many pipe fitters and miners on us to work capping those wells at the same price that they would charge to dig those wells.
What?
So I just find it frustrating. Frustrating. Talk about.
We were talking about guns.
Last point I'll make in the infrastructure, and I apologize for spending more time on it, but is that if you think about it,
we want to
it's the
think about it.
place
We don't understand.
where we will be able to significantly increase American productivity, at the same time providing really good jobs for
Yes.
people. But we can't build back to what they used to be. We have to build, the global warming's already done significant damage. The roads that used to be above the water level
What?
didn't have to worry about where the drainage ditch was. Now you got to rebuild them 3 feet higher.
Guns, Joe.
It's not going to go back to what it was before, only get worse unless we stop it.
Guns.
There's so much we can do. Look at all the schools in America. Most of you live in the Washington area now, but in your hometowns, I don't know where you're all from.
You want to ask
How
them?
many schools where the kids can't drink the water out of the fountain?
Why are we talking about water?
How many schools are still in a position where there's asbestos?
Oh my gosh, what?
How many schools in America we're sending our kids to don't have adequate ventilation? How many homes, buildings, office complexes are wasting billions of barrels of oil over time because they can't hold in the heat or the air conditioning?
What?
Because it leaks through the windows that are so porous and the connections. It's amazing. So there's so much we can do that's good stuff, makes people healthier, and creates good jobs. And I think that I got one more question here. And Janet from Univision.
Thank you, Mr. President. We too have been reporting at the border, and just like Cecilia, we ran into a pair of siblings who came in on Monday, were detained by CBP, had the phone number for their mother who lives in the U.S. We have contacted the mother. That's the only way they know her kids are here, because CBP today, Thursday, has not contacted that mother. So when can we expect your promise of things getting better with contacting and expediting?
Well, they're already getting better, but they're going to get real. They're going to a whole hell of a lot better real quick, or we're going to hear some people leaving. Okay? We can get this done. We're going to get it done. I had a long meeting with the entire team and several cabinet level officers the other night. We're going to be moving within the next week over 100,000. I mean, 1,000 people out of the Border Patrol into safe, secure beds and facilities. We're going to significantly ramp up. We're already out there contacting everyone from getting some of the employees at HHS. There's a lot of them doing other things and move them into making those calls. We're in the process of rearranging and providing for the personnel needed to get that done. But I admire the fact that you were down there, you're making the calls yourself. It's real. The next thing that has to happen, though, as you well know, has to happen, there have to be some certitude that this is actually mom, dad, or whomever. And
What?
there's ways to do that. There's ways to do that, a little bit like determining whether or not you got the right code for your credit card. What was your dog's name, kind of thing. I'm being a bit facetious, but not really. And also seeking harder data from DNA to birth certificates, which takes longer. So I want to do this as quickly, as humanly possible, and as safely as possible.
Well, no, treating the root causes in Latin America doesn't change things overnight. How do you realistically and physically keep these families from coming to the U.S. when
Where is he
things will
going?
not get better in their countries right away?
Oh my.
Well, I can't guarantee that, but I know, that old thing, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Oh, Joe.
You know as well as I do. You cover it. You have serious, it's not like somebody sitting on a hand-hewn table in Guatemala, in somewhere in Mexico or in Guadalupe saying, I got a great idea. Let's sell everything we have. Give it to a coyote. Have them take our kids across the border into a desert where they don't speak the language. Won't that be fun? Let's go. That's not how it happens.
You want to
People
bet?
don't want to leave. When my great-grandfather got in a coffin ship in the Irish Sea,
Oh, here we go, Joe.
expectation was he going to live long enough on that ship to get to the United States of America? But they left because of what the Brits have been doing.
What?
They were in real trouble. They didn't want to leave, but they had no choice.
Come on,
So
man.
I can't guarantee we're going to solve everything, but I can guarantee we can make everything better. We can make it better. We can change the lives of so many people. And the other thing I want to point out to you, and I hope you point out, I realize it's much more heart-wrenching, and it is, to deal with a 5 and 6 and 7-year-old. But you went down there and you saw the vast majority of these children, 70% are 16 years old, 17 years old, and mostly males. Doesn't make it good, bad, or different. But the idea that we have tens of thousands of kids in these god-awful facilities that are really little babies crying all night, there's some, that's true. That's why we got to act. And yesterday, I asked my team, both the director of the two agencies as well as others, I asked them what would they in fact, and I asked their opinion because they're the experts, but I said, focus on the most vulnerable immediately. But there's no reason why in the next month as people cross the border, that phone call can't be made in the first 48 hours.
I thought the borders were closed, Joe.
If I may ask one last question, have you had any talks with Senate Republicans who are threatening this administration with not considering the immigration legislation that was passed in the House until the situation at the border has been resolved?
No, because I know they have to posture for a while. They sort of got to get out of their system. This is but I'm ready to work with any Republican who wants to help solve the problem or make the situation better. But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we've been listening to President Biden hold his.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so first, Joe Biden said Donald Trump handled the border stuff so badly that there were tons of people crossing the borders under his presidency, and nobody was saying anything about that. Are you kidding me right now, bro? Come on, man. Donald Trump met with the president of Mexico and said, listen, bro, you're not going to keep letting people come across. I'm not going to allow it. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Border numbers were so down. As soon as Joe Biden opened his mouth and said, I remove the remain in Mexico order, that's when stuff shot up. You know how I know? Because I watched it. Oscar L. Blue. Nobody's at the borders in Tijuana. As soon as Joe Biden said it, thousands of people within 2 days were there. That whole thing was atrocious. I cannot wait to see how the left spins this. I'm not even sure how they could pull anything positive out of that. He got asked a question about guns and he started talking about gas lines and asbestos and lead and water leaks, and I just how can they spin this positively? I am so excited to see it. I want to see how they spin it. But here's the sad thing, you guys. People watched that on CNBC, right? They watched it on the mainstream media. The reason why he answered the questions the way that he did is because he's speaking to people who believe what he's saying. They're not like awake to the BS like we are. So we're sitting here laughing at this guy because he is just like nuts. But there are people that absolutely believed what he said. They're probably going to be like, wow, he's just really planning for change. And he's just this great guy. The dude didn't even answer a question, not a single question. He like badgered the reporters, told them that they couldn't ask a certain amount of questions. He needed to, get out of there. He had to check his watch. He's got to go get that early bird special at Golden Corral. I don't even know. I don't even know. He didn't answer one single question. I seriously don't know how the mainstream media is going to spin this in his favor, because he was asked some really great questions. I was actually very impressed with some of the questions they asked him. Jennifer, I don't know. I'm still like, I'm dumber now that I watched that. Like, it was really, really, really bad. It was bad. Yeah. So anyways, you're welcome for the fun, entertaining afternoon live with me. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you all. God bless you all. God bless America. And Lord Jesus, pray for this country. Get on your knees and pray for this country right now, because we need it. See you guys later.